I recently spoke with Edward Snowden, a military contractor who revealed government secrets and now lives in exile. Did Snowden do the right thing? After researching this, I now think he did. You decide. You went to work for the government. You signed agreements saying you wouldn't talk about what you did. Why go to the media?
We talk about awards for progress in civil liberties. We talk about the importance of independent thought and the history of it. And this is really what it is. You know, I did sign up to work for the government. I volunteered for the Army. I applied to the CIA. I worked as a contractor in NSA facilities on NSA computers. Again and again and again. People think contractors like you're working in a different building, but no, you're in. It's just a continuation of government service.
And also, you joined the military after 9/11 because you wanted to fight.
I did when everyone else was protesting. I was a younger man, and I was much less politically educated, I'd like to think, than I am today. You know, some things only come with experience. But so, yeah, it raises this question of how does someone like who I was become someone like who I am? And I got to tell you, it was hard. It wasn't easy. It wasn't natural. It wasn't something I ever expected to do. But like I said, I signed up to all of these things. I volunteered because I believed in a prevailing national mythos to which we are all subscribed when we're born into our country, when we go to a school system where we're basically the only one in the world where you get up in the morning and you pledge allegiance to a flag. We all have the same stories. We all watch the same channels. You know, we see men like you on TV kind of telling us what's happening in the world and what it's like. And what changed me was a realization that as someone who held a top secret clearance and had access far beyond what a top secret clearance would entitle someone to generally, the private truths of what was actually happening in our government, what our government actually does, what our nation was involved in without the knowledge or consent of the people that it purports to represent, was very different than the public representation of it. And that, really, just that seed alone was the start of a journey that would take me many years to ultimately realize, and the decision, as you said, to come forward. And the ultimate reason why I came forward was simply to bridge that gap in my own experience and share that with everyone else, to share the realization that I came to, that what we were being told is true and real and is the state of our world, was in fact a witting and continuing lie by some of the highest representatives in our government. And I felt that people needed to know that.
What was the lie?
I think the most famous one for me, and really, the turning point, would be when you look at the exchange between Senator Ron Wyden and then Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. This is sworn testimony in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And for those who don't remember it, because it was some time ago, it looked a little bit like this.
So what I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
Now, the importance of this is to think about what that represented. This, of course, was false. The NSA was collecting the phone records of every Verizon customer on a daily basis. They were doing this for other major telecommunications providers as well. I just didn't have the judicial order for that. And this was happening to the internet. This was happening to email communications. What was happening was a change in technology from the old internet that was sort of non-commercial, very individual and simple. It was pretty crude. Everything was cobbled together, to this larger, more corporatized internet where all of our communications, all of our interactions, all of our relationships, all of the things that we read and like online are being passed to us through a Facebook or a Google or an Apple. And in secret, these companies had basically gone far beyond what the law required of government to join programs where they would share information with the NSA through the front door of the FBI. And it was continuing for years without the kind of individual warrants and legal process that we expected and we had become accustomed to. That we're told in the Constitution, this is how our government works. And so for me, when you ask what was the lie, the lie was not any one particular part of these programs. It wasn't a particular detail. It was the fact that there was a breathtaking sweep of intentional, knowing public deception by people at the level of the Senate, by people in these different executive agencies, intelligence agencies, and then in the White House itself, even from the president, then President Barack Obama, who campaigned on ending warrantless wiretapping that he had criticized so heavily in the Bush administration, but had in fact, in secret, extended and embraced these programs and these authorities to a level that I began to feel had truly narrowed the boundaries of our rights.
Does the NSA routinely intercept American citizens' emails?
No.
Does the NSA intercept Americans' cell phone conversations?
No.
Google searches?
No.
Text messages?
No.
Amazon.com orders?
No.
Bank records?
No. We're not authorized to do it, nor do we do it.
You're at the NSA and you're dealing with these secrets before you even saw the head of the National Security Agency on TV. And what did you think about them then?
Well, so this was the thing. When you look at the arc of my career in intelligence, I was always working on the technical aspect of it. And so by and large, I was modernizing our systems because post 9/11, the intelligence community realized they weren't very good at using technology. They thought they were. And in a way, it was true that they were, but it was a different era's technology. They were great with radio. They were great with satellite. They weren't so good with computers. They weren't so good with the internet. So they brought in a bunch of shaggy young guys who looked like me.
And they really liked what you did, and you were a star.
Absolutely. But it wasn't that I was, exceptional, so much that I represented a generation that was native to these new systems that they had shied away from because they didn't trust the security of them. It turned out with good reason. But my generation came in, we shared our experiences, we shared our specialties, and we were always looking at what we were doing through a straw. And you have to understand this principle that we hear of in the movies, need to know, means normally you get a project, you do a project. You don't know where it goes, you don't know who else is using it. But bit by bit, I was redirecting and collecting the flow of intelligence. Then I was backing it up, permanizing it, making it so that if we lost a building, if we lost a site, we didn't lose everything that had passed through that, the information that had been passed through that. And I thought this was information about terrorists. I thought this was saving lives. I thought this was preventing wars. But as I moved higher and higher in the organization, as I moved from CIA to NSA, as I moved from office to office, my straw that I'm looking through gets wider and wider and wider until I land in this place called the Office of Information Sharing. It turned out I would be much better at this job than anyone expected. And I saw everything. And it's only there when you see the consequences of your labor and the different parts of your career all brought together with the labor of others of your entire generation who themselves, not sitting in the position you are, can't see the big picture impact of what they're doing. And the public, who never even knew this stuff existed, and again, this was occurring without their consent, but in theory, it was being carried out in their name. It felt to me that we needed to know. We needed to actually decide, is this what we want to happen or not?
And you talked to your supervisors.
Yeah, I talked to my supervisors. I talked to my colleagues on Constitution Day.
They were all fine with it. This is just what we do, and no problem.
Well, actually, it's not quite that people had no problems. When I brought up these programs that many of them had never heard of because they hadn't been exposed to them, I said, does this look right to you? When I show that we're collecting more internet communications in the United States at the NSA than we were in Russia, right? Meaning we are ingesting more Americans' communication than we are ingesting Chinese people's communications or Russians' communications or North Koreans' communications or whoever you're afraid of, right? The bulk of our collection was happening domestically and happening with the aid of other partners in what's called the Five Eyes network, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And then the NSA would go, well, yes, we're collecting all of these communications, but we're not reading them all. We're capturing everything that you, John Stossel, are doing online. We're capturing everything that your family's doing online, that your friends are doing online. But we just pinky promise it's not being used for anything bad. And then, being an engineer, I see how these things actually are being touched. They are being processed. They are being sorted through every single day. Algorithmically, it sort of proves the lie, right? That all of these promises, they don't really amount to much. All of these processes and regulations and procedures don't amount to much. And in reality, what the NSA is doing every single day, its ordinary course of business, is violating not only the laws as written, but likely the Constitution.